Of course, he picked the younger one. I should have expected that. After all, who could resist someone with smooth skin and that effortless laugh? Alex muttered under his breath, leaning against the cold window glass of his small Manhattan apartment. Rain splattered against the pane, a relentless percussion that echoed the storm in his chest. Alex had always known the rules of the game. He knew love could be merciless, passion could burn and vanish like smoke, and trust was a luxury rarely granted. But knowing something intellectually was never enough to shield your heart when it finally collided with reality. It had been weeks since the breakup, and the apartment still smelled faintly of Michael. The faint cologne he always wore, a blend of cedarwood and something impossibly sweet, lingered like a haunting refrain. Alex had lived with him for almost 2 years of mornings tangled in sheets, nights filled with laughter, and moments so tender they had carved themselves into Alex's memory like scars he didn't mind keeping. But Michael had left, and not just left, had leapt, practically without hesitation, into the arms of someone younger, someone shiny, someone that seemed to absorb sunlight just by existing. Alex pictured him now. Michael in his immaculate apartment uptown, laughing at some joke the blonde boy told, hands intertwined, smiles bright and carefree. And Alex was here, staring at a letter he had written but never sent, fingers trembling as if the paper itself carried a pulse. The first line mocked him, more than it mourned. You always chased what you thought would make you happy, even if it burned what was real in the process. Alex had debated burning it, crumpling it into oblivion, but needed him to read it someday. Needed Michael to understand. He needed that regret to plant itself like a seed, slow-growing, inevitable. And so the words had poured out. A confession, a reprimand, a whisper of longing. Do you ever think about what we had? The letter continued. Not just the easy mornings, the fun nights, but the hard parts too. The parts you never appreciated because they were mine to carry for you. Alex's chest tightened. He could remember vividly the nights he had supported Michael through the anxiety that made him tremble at public places. How he had held him, whispered nonsense, made Michael laugh when the weight of expectation in his family and career threatened to crush him. How he had been patient, endlessly, until Michael could finally exhale, until he reached the top in every way that mattered. And yet, the letter said, the pen scratching almost violently, you left me, for someone younger, more naive, more easily impressed. Did you ever pause and think that experience, depth, and loyalty might have been worth more than someone who hadn't seen the world bend yet? The rain slowed, lightening to a drizzle, and Alex felt the echo of a memory. The first night they had met, Michael had been arrogant, fiery, challenging every word Alex spoke. Alex had laughed at him, told him he was insufferable, and then had kissed him in a moment of sheer impulsive daring. The kiss had ignited something neither of them understood at the time. A connection that was both combustible and healing, electric and grounding. But Michael had changed. Or maybe Alex had changed. Either way, their timing had shattered, and someone else had slipped into the spaces Alex once thought were exclusively theirs. Alex sank onto the couch, letter in hand, staring at the ceiling. I helped him reach the peak, he whispered. And he didn't even look back. The door buzzed faintly with the sound of the intercom, startling him. He ignored it. He wasn't ready for human contact, not now. Not while the words still burned with unspoken intentions. The letter, though unsent, had already served its purpose. It was a lifeline thrown into the storm of his emotions, a tether between the old Alex and the new one who was learning, painfully, that love could be cruel but not necessarily final. In the city, life had a rhythm that did not pause for heartbreak. Taxis honked. Neon lights flickered. People laughed in the rain under umbrellas, blissfully unaware of the private catastrophes unfolding above street level. Alex dressed carefully in black jeans and a loose t-shirt, eyes catching himself in the mirror. He looked like someone moving on, someone composed. But in his chest, a quiet war raggied, a cocktail of longing, bitterness, and an almost mischievous desire for revenge. And revenge was subtle. Not dramatic confrontations or screaming fights, no. Alex was smarter than that. Letters had power. Words could linger longer than any physical presence. 2 days later, Alex found himself at a quaint little coffee shop tucked away on a quiet street in Brooklyn. He had chosen it deliberately. Too small for crowds, too charming to be ignored. It smelled of fresh pastries and roasted beans. He ordered a latte and sat in the corner, observing couples, friends, and solitary figures scrolling on laptops. Then he saw him, Michael, across the street, catching the reflection in the large window, laughing with a blonde boy whose hands were clasped tightly around his own. Alex's stomach twisted. The blonde boy, Jackson, seemed carefree in a way Alex never could be, perhaps because Jackson didn't know the battles Michael had fought with Alex by his side. Alex's pen itched. He had brought another letter, not the same one. A new one. This was different. Lighter, teasing, almost playful. A little jab masked in charm. He wanted Michael to feel a flicker of that old connection, to remember the weight of someone who had truly loved him. He wrote quickly, "Remember the nights I stayed awake making sure you were okay? I hope Jackson knows how lucky he is, but I doubt he will ever understand what it really takes to keep someone like you." He hesitated, then added, "Or maybe he already does. Or maybe he's learning it the hard way." The irony was delicious. Not cruel, not vindictive, just a gentle, inevitable truth. Michael had chosen him, sure, but the past could whisper its own power, and Alex intended to let it speak. By the time Alex slipped the letter into an envelope, addressed with his own careful hand, he felt a strange sense of relief. This wasn't about hurting Michael. This was about reclaiming a piece of himself, about reminding both of them that history had its weight and its value. He walked back to the street, blending into the throngs of people, the city alive around him. He felt small, yet immensely significant, carrying the quiet power of words that could pierce time and memory. At the same time, he couldn't deny the pang that hit when Michael looked up briefly, his eyes scanning the street. For a fleeting moment, their gazes could have met, but the universe conspired against it. Michael's eyes returned to Jackson's smiling face, and the window of connection closed, just slightly. Alex smirked. Let him chase the sunlight. He had weathered the storm after all. And storms had a habit of revealing the truth. The night came, draping the city in a velvet blanket dotted with golden lights. Alex returned to his apartment, pouring a glass of wine, and sat by the window, staring at the skyline. The letter rested on the counter, waiting to be sent, waiting for its moment to ripple through someone else's carefully constructed happiness. And as he sipped the wine, he allowed himself a small, secret smile. A little fire still burned inside him, not for revenge, not for spite, but for the subtle, intimate knowledge that love, in all its forms, had a memory. And sometimes, memory was the sweetest kind of justice. Alex did not notice the rain had stopped. The city sounded quieter now, softer, almost intimate. Perhaps tomorrow he would mail the letter. Perhaps he would not. Perhaps the act of writing it had already done what he needed it to do, made him whole again. The story of what had been, and what might have been, hovered like smoke in the air. A reminder that even the deepest heartbreaks could carry the seeds of beauty. And somewhere across the city, Michael and Jackson laughed, unaware that a shadow of the past, gentle yet piercing, had just been cast upon their golden light. Alex closed his eyes and let himself dream, not of revenge, not of sorrow, but of a future where love, in any form, had the power to heal, to teach, and to linger long after the moment had passed. The next morning, sunlight spilled into Alex's apartment, brushing against the polished wooden floors and the faint scent of rain that still lingered from the previous night. He had slept little, thoughts of Michael and Jackson weaving themselves into dreams that were more vivid than comfortable. Yet there was a strange clarity that came with exhaustion and understanding that he could not undo the past, nor could he control the choices Michael had made. But fate, Alex suspected, had a habit of presenting opportunities when least expected. Alex found himself wandering through Central Park, the crisp autumn air carrying a hint of fallen leaves and distant coffee carts. He did not intend to find Michael, nor did he plan to confront him. Yet, as he rounded the bend near the lake, There they were, Michael and Jackson, sitting on a worn wooden bench, the late morning sun glinting off Michael's dark hair and Jackson's blonde streaks. Michael looked up, and for a fraction of a second their eyes met. The recognition was instant, electric, and raw. Alex's heart thudded in a rhythm that was equal parts excitement and fear. He slowed, pretending to tie his shoelaces, letting Michael and Jackson remain unaware of his presence. Jackson leaned his head against Michael's shoulder, laughing softly at something Michael had whispered. Alex's chest tightened. He had once been the one receiving those tender touches, the one whose presence had offered comfort and warmth. The memory was sharp, almost painful, and yet he could not stop the smile that tugged at the corners of his lips. Seeing Michael happy, truly happy, was a strange balm, even if it carried a sting of regret. He moved past them slowly, careful not to make a scene, but as he passed, Michael's gaze flicked to him once again. Their eyes locked, and in that fleeting instant, a silent conversation passed, a mixture of surprise, nostalgia, and something neither of them wanted to name out loud. Jackson, sensing the subtle tension, turned his head curiously. "Do you know him?" Jackson asked, voice polite but cautious. Michael hesitated, a shadow crossing his features. "Alex," he said simply, as if a single word could carry the weight of years. Alex nodded, offering a small, almost teasing smile. "Morning, Michael." His voice was calm, measured, though internally, his pulse raced. Jackson tilted his head, studying Alex. There was no hostility, no jealousy, just the natural curiosity of someone encountering a figure from the past who had clearly meant something. Alex appreciated that restraint. "I didn't expect to see you here," Michael said, his tone neutral, though Alex caught the faintest edge of surprise, or perhaps guilt. Alex shrugged, keeping his expression casual. "Central Park is public property. You never know who you'll run into." His words were light, but his eyes betrayed the storm beneath a cocktail of lingering feelings, subtle anger, and the faint hope that Michael remembered the intensity of what they had shared. Michael's lips twitched in the hint of a smile, fleeting and fragile. "It's been a while." "Yeah," Alex replied, letting the word hang between them, charged with unspoken meaning. Jackson shifted slightly, still leaning on Michael. Alex sensed the protective bubble he carried around his partner, but he refused to let that deter him. There was a moment, a perfect alignment of timing and circumstance, where he could remind Michael without force, without cruelty, of the bond they had once shared. "So," Alex began casually, "how's the new arrangement?" "Jackson seems nice." His words were pointed in the softest way, a subtle probe that carried more weight than a direct accusation ever could. Michael stiffened slightly. "He's good," he admitted, though his tone was not defensive. There was a hesitation, a crack in the armor he had built. "We're happy." Alex nodded slowly, pretending to consider this, though every fiber of him was alert. "I hope so. Really, you deserve happiness." His voice softened, almost tender now, though a faint edge lingered, a reminder that some truths were difficult to forget. Michael looked at him, eyes searching. "Alex, I didn't think—" "You didn't think," Alex echoed, a faint smirk playing on his lips. "You didn't think I'd still be around? Or that I'd still care?" He allowed the question to hang, heavy with both challenge and vulnerability. Michael sighed, glancing at Jackson, then back at Alex. I didn't expect to run into you like this," he admitted. "It's complicated." Alex's smile softened. "Life's always complicated, Michael. You should know that." For a long moment, they stood there, three figures caught in the shifting light of early autumn. Alex could feel the old rhythm, the silent dance of intimacy and tension that had defined their past. He didn't need to speak to communicate it. Michael felt it too. Every glance, every pause, every subtle gesture carried echoes of shared nights, whispered promises, and quiet support that had once been the foundation of everything. Jackson, perceptive though young and inexperienced, finally broke the tension. "I should go grab us some coffee," he said, smiling at both men. Give you space. His tone was polite, but Alex sensed the faint curiosity underlying it. Michael shook his head. No, it's okay. Stay. Jackson hesitated, then nodded, staying on the bench, though a subtle distance now existed between him and Michaela's small shift that Alex noticed immediately. Alex finally spoke, breaking the silence. Do you remember the night at that tiny apartment on the Lower East Side? The one with the broken heater? Michael's lips twitched into a faint, reluctant smile. How could I forget? You nearly froze because I insisted on keeping the windows open. And yet I stayed, Alex said softly, eyes locking on Michael's. Through the cold, through everything. You reached the top because I was there. And you knew it. You always knew it. Michael swallowed, a lump forming in his throat. Alex, I'm not here to argue, Alex continued, voice gentle now, tinged with the warmth of memory. I want you to remember that. Michael's gaze dropped. I do. I remember. More than I should, maybe. The moment stretched, heavy with the gravity of unsent letters, unspoken words, and lingering affection. Alex felt the pulse of something old, something intimate, stirring between them. Not passion in the raw conceit least, not yet, but the quiet acknowledgement of a bond that neither time nor distance could erase. Alex took a small step closer, careful not to overstep, just close enough that the air between them felt charged. You chose him, he said softly, almost whispering. And that's fine, but don't forget who was there before. Michael's eyes flickered, torn between the present and the past. I don't forget, he admitted. His voice was low, almost vulnerable. I never forgot, Alex. Alex's lips curved into a small, satisfied smile. Not malicious, not triumphant, just the subtle victory of recognition, of truth acknowledged. Jackson, sensing the shift, finally rose, placing a hand gently on Michael's shoulder. Come on, he said softly. Let's grab that coffee. Michael hesitated, eyes still on Alex. The moment was fleeting, delicate, a dance of emotions where words were optional. Then he nodded, allowing Jackson to guide him, but not without a backward glance at Alex. A glance heavy with complexity, with what-ifs, and with the faint, unmistakable echo of regret. Alex watched them go, heart pounding but not with the anguish of before. No, this time, there was something else. A strange, bittersweet satisfaction. He had not won Michael back, had not intended Tobit, he had reminded him of what had been, and that, in itself, was a quiet triumph. As the afternoon sun warmed his face, Alex wandered back through the park, thoughts drifting toward the unsent letter resting on his kitchen counter. He could mail it, he could let it lie, he could do anything, but the important thing was not action. The important thing was presence. He had been seen. Michael had been reminded. And in that reminder, Alex found the stirrings of closure, of self-respect, and of a subtle hope that the past and present could coexist without destroying either. That evening, back in his apartment, Alex poured himself a glass of wine and opened the window, letting the city hum around him. He could hear the faint laughter from a nearby rooftop, the distant wail of a siren, the ordinary cadence of life moving forward. And he felt, for the first time in weeks, a strange lightness, a sense that heartbreak, even the deepest kind, could evolve into understanding, into connection, and perhaps, eventually, into something resembling peace. He sat on the windowsill, letter unopened beside him, staring at the skyline. Somewhere across the city, Michael and Jackson were making their way home, laughter and conversation trailing behind them like ribbons. And Alex, quietly, allowed himself to hope not for reconciliation, not yet, but for the recognition that love, even when lost, carried lessons that were both painful and beautiful. Alex's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number flashed. Alex? Can we talk? He stared at it, pulse quickening. His fingers hovered over the screen, unsure whether to respond immediately or savor the suspense. The city outside continued its endless rhythm, indifferent to the human dramas unfolding within it. And Alex, with a faint, enigmatic smile, knew that whatever happened next, he was ready not just for confrontation, not just for closure, but for the possibility that Love's story was far from over. The wind shifted, carrying the scent of rain once more, and Alex closed his eyes. The past, the present, and the future seemed to converge in that small Manhattan apartment, and for the first time, he felt a quiet thrill. The thrill of possibility, of connection, and of a heart learning to beat again, carefully, deliberately, and fully alive. The next day, the city had changed. Not in any literal sense, the streets were still bustling, taxis honked, and vendors called to passers-by, but Alex felt a shift in the air, as if the universe had rearranged itself, just slightly, to create a moment that had been waiting all along. He walked along the cobblestone streets of Soho, jacket loosely draped over his shoulders, mind half occupied with work emails but mostly with the memory of Michael's gaze yesterday. That backward glance, fleeting, but loaded with unspoken words, haunted him in a way that was both comforting and unsettling. And then he saw him, Michael, standing at a street corner under the golden light of early afternoon, looking lost. The city swirled around him, indifferent, but Alex's instincts screamed that something was different. Michael's hands fidgeted with the strap of his messenger bag, his brow slightly furrowed. He wasn't laughing. He wasn't talking to anyone. He was searching, maybe even hoping. Alex stopped, pretending to check his phone, heart hammering. Could Michael actually be looking for him? Could he finally realize the weight of what had been left behind? Michael's eyes met his almost immediately, wide and vulnerable, the kind of look that could topple defenses built over months. And then he moved hesitant, careful, but undeniably purposeful toward Alex. Alex! Michael's voice broke slightly. Michael? Alex said, tone calm, almost casual, though the tension between them was palpable. You found me. I had to, Michael admitted, glancing away for a moment before back at Alex. I can't stop thinking about us, about everything we were and what I did. Alex let the words sink in. He had not expected an immediate apology, had only expected confrontation or avoidance. But this was different, honest, vulnerable, heartfelt. Michael's lips trembled. I was wrong, Alex, choosing Jackson so quickly. I thought I wanted that. I thought it would make things easier. But it didn't. I don't know how to fix it. Alex's heart clenched, and for a moment, he felt the familiar ache of old wounds reopening. But then he remembered the letters, the reflection, the quiet moments of strength he had carved for himself. He could feel the balance of power subtly shifting, not because he wanted revenge, but because he had come into his own. I'm not here to punish you, Alex said softly, taking a step closer. I'm here to remind you of what you had and maybe what you still could have. But it's not about blame. It's about truth. And the truth is, I loved you, Michael. I still do. Michael's eyes glistened, a mixture of shame, regret, and longing. I know, he whispered. I know, and I hate myself for letting it go. I thought I could find something simpler, easier. But nothing compares. Nothing ever did. The words hung between them, thick with emotion, the bustling city fading into the background. Alex could see every micro-expression, every flicker of the old passion that had drawn them together. Then why wait? Alex asked gently, voice low, almost a murmur. Why wait until regret hits to realize what's real? Michael swallowed, taking a shaky breath. I don't want to lose you again, he admitted, voice barely audible. I can't. Not now. Not ever. Alex's lips curved into a soft, knowing smile. Then don't. They moved toward the small park near the corner, the leaves rustling around them in a gentle wind. Alex kept a deliberate distance at first, giving space, but close enough that Michael could feel his presence, warm and steady. I need to tell you everything, Michael said, voice breaking with the weight of confession. About Jackson, about why I left, why I thought I was choosing happiness, and how wrong I was. But mostly, I need you to know I've never stopped thinking about you. Alex nodded, letting the words wash over him. He had expected this, in some form, but the raw honesty was more powerful than he had imagined. "You don't need to explain yourself," Alex replied. "I've lived with the memory of us long enough to know the truth. But I want to hear it anyway." Michael took a step closer, closing the distance. His hands trembled slightly, unsure where to place them, a silent admission of vulnerability. "Alex, and then Alex took the leap he had been both dreading and anticipating. He closed the gap, cupping Michael's face gently, feeling the warmth of his skin, the familiar softness he had missed for so long. Michael's breath hitched. "Alex," he whispered, eyes wide, lips parting. "Shoo," Alex said softly, brushing a thumb along Michael's jaw. "It's okay. We're here now. That's what matters." The kiss that followed was not just passionate, was release, apology, and promise all in one. Soft at first, tentative, as if testing the waters, then deeper, more certain, more insistent. Alex could feel the tremor in Michael's hands as they pressed against his shoulders, seeking reassurance. "I've missed this," Michael admitted between kisses. "I've missed you, everything about you. And I missed you," Alex confessed, voice husky with emotion. "Even when I hated you for leaving, I missed you. But now we have a chance to be honest. Fully honest. No games. No distractions." Michael's forehead rested against Alex's. "I want that. I want us back." Alex's smile was small but genuine, full of relief and hope. "Then let's start over. But this time you don't get to run. You don't get to take the easy way out. We do this together." Michael nodded, tears glistening in his eyes. Together. The afternoon sun dipped lower, casting golden light over the park. They walked slowly, hands brushing, until Michael finally took Alex's hand, holding it as if he might never let go. Alex didn't pull away. Instead, he tightened his grip, feeling the pulse of life and love in that simple touch. They talked about the past, about Jackson, about lessons learned and regrets faced. Michael confessed the moments he had tried to convince himself he was over Alex, the moments he had realized no one else could measure up. Alex listened, guiding, comforting, teasing in that familiar way that had always drawn Michael to him. "And Jackson?" Alex asked finally, knowing the answer might sting. Michael sighed, a mixture of relief and guilt. "He's great, but it's different. It's never been about him. It's always been about you. I just didn't know it until I lost you." Alex's heart softened, a wave of compassion washing over the sharp edges of his earlier pain. "I needed you to see it for yourself," he said softly. "Sometimes people need to stumble before they find their way back." Michael laughed, a low, relieved sound. "Stumble, yeah, I definitely stumbled." They shared a quiet smile, and in that moment, the world seemed to shrink to the space between them. The distant traffic, the city noise, even the faint echo of footsteps on the path all faded away. Evening fell, painting the skyline in shades of pink and purple. They found themselves at Alex's apartment once more, rain starting again outside, tapping gently against the window. Alex poured 2 glasses of wine, offering one to Michael, who accepted with a shy, nervous smile. They sat on the couch, close but not touching at first. Conversation flowed easily, laughter returning in bursts, punctuated by long pauses where neither had to speak. Just the presence, the quiet knowledge that the distance of months and mistakes could be bridged with honesty and care. Michael reached out, hand hovering over Alex's. "May I?" he asked softly. Alex nodded, a small, teasing smirk tugging at his lips. "You may, but don't expect me to make it easy for you." Their hands met, fingers entwining naturally, as if no time had passed at all. And then, with the subtle intimacy of long shared history, Michael leaned in, pressing his lips to Alex's in a kiss that spoke of forgiveness, longing, and a future they both wanted to embrace. Night deepened, and the city lights reflected in the glass, shimmering like tiny stars. Alex and Michael sat together, wrapped in a quiet cocoon of closeness, hearts beating in a slow, steady rhythm. There was no rush, no grand gestures, just presence, honesty, and the rediscovery of love that had once been lost but now found its way back. Michael rested his head on Alex's shoulder, whispering, "I'm sorry for everything, for leaving, for not realizing, for all of it." Alex kissed the top of his head, voice soft and full of reassurance. "I know, and I forgive you, but more importantly, I love you. That hasn't changed." Michael smiled against his chest, eyes closed, feeling the steady strength of Alex beside him. "I love you too," he murmured, almost reverently. And for the first time in a long time, Alex allowed himself to believe it fully, without reservation. The past had shaped them, the mistakes had taught them, but now, here, they were free to begin again. Hours passed, city life moving on outside, indifferent to the quiet miracle inside Alex's apartment. They spoke of small things, plans for the future, little dreams, and shared laughter that felt like sunlight breaking through a storm. And when the night finally deepened into a soft, gentle darkness, they fell asleep together, arms entwined, hearts aligned, and souls quietly mended. The letter Alex had written remained on the counter, unopened, a silent testament to their journey. It no longer needed to be sent. Its purpose had been fulfilled. The past had spoken, Michael had understood, and now the future was theirs, fragile, beautiful, and filled with the promise of love that had been tested, lost, and finally, found again. Alex woke first, sunlight streaming through the window, Michael still resting beside him, peaceful and warm. He traced a finger along Michael's arm, feeling the steady rise and fall of his chest. And in that simple, intimate moment, Alex knew that regret had transformed into appreciation, heartbreak into hope, and longing into the quiet, enduring joy of being truly seen and truly loved by the person who had once almost slipped away. He leaned down, pressing a gentle kiss to Michael's temple, whispering, "We made it back. Together." Michael stirred, opening one eye, a sleepy smile forming. "Together?" he repeated, voice full of wonder and relief. And as the city woke around them, Alex felt a calm certainty. They had weathered the storm, faced the regrets, and emerged stronger, closer, and infinitely more in love than they had ever been before. The past was a memory, the present a gift, and the future unwritten, luminous, and theirs to share stretched out before them, promising everything and nothing all at once. For Alex and Michael, the story had come full circle. Pain had given way to understanding, distance to intimacy, and loss to the rediscovery of love so deep, so tender, it could withstand time, mistakes, and even the allure of something younger, brighter, or seemingly easier. And in that perfect, quiet dawn, Alex knew they were home together. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.